again. In this video we're off to game 4 of Lincon 2016. I was up against Elias and his Undying Dynasties. Looking at the lists, it felt like a pretty hard matchup where I would definitely need my monsters, which in turn were juicy targets for his catapults and colossi. It's a pity that I don't have a copy of his list, cause I have a very vague recollection of his wizards. I think he had a level 4 Path of the Sands and 2 level 2s with Path of Light, but I don't remember his spells except for the ones that give an extra attack and lethal strike. I, on the other hand, got Thunderbolt, Stars Align and the Lightning Storm. We played the secure target scenario with the flank attack deployment. He chose the side and to be the attacker. So he then placed his objective marker over to my left, marked with a coin, and I placed mine almost in the center of the board. I got to deploy first, and since he had more chaff, I could just as well place everything. And knowing where the markers were, I felt that I had to go on the left flank anyway. I chose to overload on my left since his marker was there, and much like the last game, I could use the impossible in the middle to limit his potential to flank me, and I thought he would think twice about wanting to commit his chariots on the flank with the forest. To force him to spread out his combat units, I placed the hydras with the option to go right in case that flank would be left undefended. So from my right are the raiders, then the hydras, next the general with tower guards, the kraken, the spearman with BSB, and behind the hill or the oracle with the bunker. The altar is behind my lines too. It's a bit hard to see, but from his left are the archer units with the wizards, and in front of them a colossus. Next his block of necropolis guards with the nomar, or what's it called, and the harbinger inside, and behind are his catapults. To the right then are the other colossus and his fast cab, then the big chariot unit with the vultures behind, and I forgot them, but far to the left are the small unit of chariots. I think he had a well thought out deployment, since I would have a very hard time getting at his squishy stuff other than first go through his necropolis guards and both the colossi. For Vanguard I moved my raiders up and he moved his fast cav over to protect the left flank. My initial plan for the game were to try to engage his necropolis guard with the tower guards and at least one of the monsters, while the spearman, BSB and perhaps the kraken should be able to handle his right flank. The oracle and her bunker were just intended to move into range and in late turns retreat to the rightmost objective. So I move all my combat units up pretty far, but I don't think I maxed the range, maxed the move. And the kraken move into the forest since I don't think he dared to charge his chariots in there. I think I tried lightning storm on a colossus but failed. So with shooting I kill one fast cav but nothing else. He then doesn't move that much except for chaffing me with one of his fast cav units. He tries a bunch of spells, but I don't think he succeeds with doing anything. of importance, but in his shooting he killed a raider and also bring the Kraken down. So in my turn I charge the chaffing fast cav and move my raiders up to chaff his guards and the left colossus. I also am stupid enough to move the left hydra too close to the raiders. Unfortunately, the reason behind this choice was based on my ignorance of the rules for the colossus and its grinding attacks, so I didn't count on it killing them all right away. On my left I also triple marched the spearman up with the intent to forcing him to charge with the chariots or else get a peg in his back line. As you will come to see here, I here too underestimated the threat of the colossus. I think I killed a chariot with magic and perhaps shooting, and I also cast Stars Align on the spears, making them reroll to wound and to be a bit more threatening. The tower guards made short work of the fast cav and made a long overrun, which will come to pay a huge difference in his turn, where he, with an exact margin, flank on the guards with his chariots, which he also will manage to fit in the space between my units together with the colossus, which charged the flank of the spearman. So in his turn his guards charged the raiders and the colossus charged the other raiders. Unfortunately someone seems to have bumped into the camera, so the angle got a bit worse. Other than those charges, I think he only moved his left chariots closer to the action. It seems that I must have managed to kill 2 of the chariots in my turn, so in his magic he gets the +1 attack spell off and resurrects 1. His shooting didn't do much, but as you probably have guessed, his left colossus kills the raiders, which then panics the hydra. Next his guards kill the other raiders and reform. His right colossus kills a bunch of spearmen and I do no wounds back, even though I had Stars Line off. Being in a wood and all, they run, but too far for the colossus at least. His chariot kills a whole bunch of guards, winning the combat. I stick and then reform. In my turn the spearmen rally, but the hydra does not. The guards are buffed with a ward save, while the altar and hydra positions for an eventual counter charge. With magic I do some wounds to the colossus, and in combat I chop up his chariots pretty good and then reform. So his turn again, and his necropolis guards charge in. I think the left colossus tried a long shot too, but it failed. His vultures too charge into the flank. The right colossus goes at the spearman again, and with magic he got an extra attack on his necropolis guards, which means that I already must have blown my scroll on something. Then he shot one of the hydras down, and in combat I kill his harbinger, 12 regular guards together with one of the vultures, I think. He then gets a total of 2 more wounds. Then I have guards left, and I only ward save 2, which means that exactly all of my guards die. And as if it weren't enough to lose the bodyguard rule, that in that way his birds add insult to injury and stomps in 2 wounds through the princess now 1-up armor save. It didn't make any difference since he then got run down, but anyway. His colossus kills a bunch of spearmen, and I seem to have done at least 1 wound back, and I then stick. So in my turn 4 I decided it's time to retreat and try to move my altar into cover, while the last hydra might actually have rallied. Magic and shooting kills some more guards, and it's over to his turn, where he tries a long charge on the spears with his guards, but he fails. He then miscasts something which does a wound to all his wizards and regrows a wound on the Colossus. In Magic I actually managed to kill the Colossus that were engaged with the Spearman. We played really slow this game, so we were actually out of time here, so the game ended at turn 4. In the end it only were a 14-6 loss, as we both had one of the objectives. So it could have been much worse. Going into the game I think my plan was solid. My execution on the other hand was much less so. To succeed I had to have at least one monster supporting the tower guards against his necropolis guards, and to throw away one on such a stupid thing as panic is just plain dumb. When especially when you know a couple will probably die to shooting. To expose the spearman as I did was also a pretty dumb move, so I definitely deserve to lose this one. Down at the bottom tables, I'm in for the last game against Infernal Dwarfs, so see you then.